advantage of the day. When you get an opportunity in this game, you make a play. The playmakers on three. 1, 2, 3.
Touchdown, Kansas City! The Chiefs are right in the thick of it, baby!
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Defending the Kingdom. Mitch Holthus with you, the voice of the Chiefs, along with the man we call the Shop, the Barbershop, the Spider-Man, the 10-year National Football League veteran, former linebacker of the Kansas City Chiefs, and a few other teams, Shawn Barber. By the way, we're both rocking the headphones on a happy Thanksgiving weekend. We hope everybody is being careful. We know this is a tough one. People are meeting virtually, Shawn. We're doing that in our family. We're having a Thanksgiving dinner with Zoom. But I know for you and your family, we're all trying to, do this right. And it's just a weird Thanksgiving, but we hope nonetheless, people have a special Thanksgiving.
Where everybody talk about a small gathering, but when you have 6 kids, the word small doesn't really refer to the Barber clan. So we hunkered down. We're going to be, socially distanced. We're going to have all the turkey stuffings, all the sides and everything. But yeah, it's going to be just us. And that is a little bit different because we were used to having my in-laws and my mom and dad and everybody together, especially during the holidays. But we just want to appreciate everybody who's making that sacrifice, doing what they can to definitely slow down the spread of coronavirus and wearing their masks. Even if you do decide to be around others, stay socially distanced, wash your hands, use hand sanitizer, do everything you can do to just help your neighbor out, help everybody stay as safe as possible. And let's, as a community come together and really stop the increase of this spike.
Yeah, and it sounds a little cold-blooded, but you really have to treat everybody as if they're positive. I mean, that's just the kind of the strategy. If you can kind of make your mindset that way, that's what Rick Burkholder said way back when, and the team is trying to hang in there. Every day we're seeing something. We know the Ravens are affected now with their game Thursday night against the Steelers. Chiefs this week against the Buccaneers, but we're taking another kind of Google Earth global view of the Chiefs in this show because I had a chance to sit down with General Manager Brett Veach, like we did last week with the chairman and CEO of the Chiefs, Clark Hunt. But we're going to get into this because this is kind of like Why We Win Part 2, but we're going to entitle this one The Secret Sauce. Because what the Chiefs have done now, 8 years of winning, has developed, it permeates through the entire organization. And Brett Veach is zeroing in on basically being the NFL Executive of the Year, what he did in the offseason. But the secret sauce, we're going to hear things in this interview with Brett, kind of like creativity and trust and communication. But let's start with the creativity because Brett Veach has been not only relentless, he and his staff have been very creative in the age and the day of the salary cap.
Yeah, when you talk about his staff, one of the guys that come up is definitely like Ryan Poles. He's one of the most up-and-coming, bright-minded. When you talk about the depth of scouting, understanding a player from his college, high school career, how did he evolve, what makes him tick, how does that player work on and off the field so that you can know when is a good risk, a great risk. There are some players that have some checkered past, have some flags, have some things on their profile that makes teams drop them off the draft board. But when you do enough research and find out the why did these things happen? It might have been just an environment. And when you think about bringing somebody out to Kansas City, as strong as our locker room and our coaching staff and the way we do things here, it can take somebody with some question marks, some flags in their past, and you think about supplanting them here in Kansas City with the leadership we have here, and sometimes those flags aren't as negatively impacted as with other teams.
Yeah, and a reminder, we're wearing our Bose headphones 700. A lot of folks are getting ready to do their holiday shopping. Of course, they're going to have to do that virtually too, a lot of it. But just go to Bose.com and check these out. These are the best headphones I've ever had, not even close. And speaking of excellence, they're excellent, but so have the Chiefs. Also creativity as it comes to handling the salary cap. People have asked me all across the country, oh my gosh, you re-up Mahomes? Wait a minute. You re-up Chris Jones? I mean, you're re-up on all these guys. How are you getting this done? Well, it's all done legally. You got to follow the rules because the NFL looks at it every day. But guys like Chris Shea and Brant Tillis, I mean, they are some of the best in the business. That, and I would say, too, the communication that's there between the coaching staff to the scouting staff and to Brett Veach's personnel staff overall is there. Because if I'm recruiting you or looking at you to draft you or get you as a college free agent, I have to look, do you fit Spags' defense? And to me, that's communication. And the Chiefs have taken guys like, what would they take L'Jarius Sneed? He's not even rated above Amik Robertson, and that's his college teammate at Louisiana Tech. Well, Brett Veach and his staff are trained to know what Spags wants. What does Coach Reed want? And I think we're seeing that manifested in every offseason from Brett Veach and his crew.
Yeah, I think when you look at some defensive coordinators, they talk about lockdown corners. They want somebody who takes away half the field, who you can follow a number one receiver around. Our defensive backfield, especially in the backfield, the defensive back position, it's like you have 5 or 6 positionary players. And all of them are expected to play the safety position, the cornerback, the nickel, the perimeter corner, the boundary corner. We have a lot of positions, but they're all interchangeable. We expect guys to have fast feet, great ball skills. They need to be heady, smart, be able to communicate, be able to trust leverage, be able to play center field, drop down and play a hole player. So we look for attributes and skill levels that go beyond just a certain position. We don't want a cornerback just to be a lockdown corner and not be able to do anything else. When you're a defensive back in Spags' defense, you have to be able to play all 5 or 6 positions and do it at a high level.
On the offensive side, a guy like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, to look and see how he fits coach's system. And people saying, wait, he might be a new Sproles. He might be the next Bryant Westbrook. And that's where I really appreciate Brett and his staff because they are trained that way. Like their mind, body, soul's trained when they look at video and they're visiting, when they can go back to the campuses and visit campuses, and when they're looking at free agents too. Because you mentioned, doing the character checks, getting the guys that, hey, didn't work out at someplace else. Well, wait a minute. You got to consider this or that. And you add a Terrell Suggs last year. You add a Stefan Wisniewski, and we've seen guys added this year, veterans that have really helped. Kelechi Osemele before he got hurt. And that's what you appreciate, the trust, the communication, the creativity. And Veach shop never stops. He never, ever stops.
Yeah, and the players are all on board with that because you get a guy like Clyde Helaire, and he comes to a team where we don't use a fullback. We do a more of a spread, stretch, cut, but you have to be good on all 3 downs. You got to be a running back that's able to catch the ball, pass protect, and then also, when needed, run the ball in a 4-minute situation, run through tackles, run through, and still get positive yardage. So that kind of running back isn't just everybody. A Leonard Fournette style of running back wouldn't work for him. We saw him the other night with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers drop a few balls, miss a couple reads. He's used to having a fullback in front of him, downhill running game, and that's just not what you do with our offense, the way we spread it out, because we want to attack a defense vertically and horizontally. We want you to have to cover all 100 yards up and down the field, and then all 53 and a quarter yards going from sideline to sideline. And so sometimes the talent and skill level of a certain player, a certain running back, just wouldn't fit the scheme of how we do things. And that's on the offensive side of the ball. And then on defense, we talk about pass rushers, linebackers, and defensive tackles. Everybody wants to think that because somebody was a Pro Bowl level defensive tackle, a Sue or Aaron Donald or a Mack, they could just come to the Kansas City Chiefs and be that impactful on our defense. But we really look for certain traits, and a lot of the traits we look for are not even on the field. It's a character, it's a leadership, and it's that being able to play with one another and having that trustability, that confidence that the person is going to be where you are supposed to be each and every down on a consistent level.
And the crown jewel of this discussion is Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
When a lot of the NFL saw him as air raid, crazy dude, he's just slinging it all over the place. Brett Veach saw him as a generational quarterback, and he has turned into that. So let's turn now to that interview that I had with Brett Veach, Chiefs general manager, and discussing the Chiefs' secret sauce. All right, now on Defending the Kingdom, this episode is why we continue this theme of why the Chiefs have won, why they've won, why they're winning, why they can win. With us now is general manager Brett Veach. And first of all, Brett, congratulations on your contract renewal, your new contract moving forward. Well-deserved, my friend.
Well, Mitch, thanks. I really appreciate that a lot. And I'm excited to spend some time with you on this Zoom call. And said earlier, miss seeing you at the stadium. It's not the same. So looking forward to the day where get to see in person calling our games.
That and being in the back of the bus with those conversations are some of the best I've had in my life. All right. I want to ask you, this consistent winning is interesting because in the history of the Chiefs, 61 years, prior to Coach Reid, when there was a good year or a great year, the next year the Chiefs could not, or Texans going back to Dallas, couldn't follow it up. Now we're looking at, with Coach Reid, 85 wins in 8 years, 4 straight division titles, 2 home AFC championship games, a Super Bowl title. Winning in this league is hard to do. Why has it been sustained in the 8 years under Coach Reid?
Well, Mitch, I think it starts from the top with Clark Hunt and his overall blueprint and vision for this organization, and I think it's a trickle-down effect. And I think the cool thing with Clark is he allows our departments, and whether you talk about Andy and his coaching staff, Mark Donovan and his crew, or me and my personnel staff, he allows us, to be ourselves, be creative, and work aggressively under that overall blueprint and vision. And I think, Mitch, you can attest to this. We work under those parameters, but we are unique and we stay aggressive. So if that's coach, the guys won top 5 all time in wins in the NFL. So if, you're looking for a great example, that's a guy that always continues to push the envelope and looks to get better. And if that's watching our stuff from, 2013, or whether it's watching a 1950s Rose Bowl game, right? I mean, he's always going to stay aggressive. He's going to push the envelope, and we operate the same way. We have some methodologies and some things that we know are time tested and we know they work, but we also know that we can't stay stagnant as a staff, and we need to continue to push the envelope and stay creative. And Mark and his staff do the same thing in regards to our brand awareness and our products. So I think that, Clark and his ability to allow us to use our creativity to stay aggressive has been really beneficial in the sense that, we have things that we know work, and we also know that if we stay stagnant, we won't continue to have success because everything in life changes. And I think we're in a position where, because of our aggressiveness, we're able to be fluid and make changes and stay on top of the curve.
But Brent, as a follow-up, I mean, in the history of this league, usually after a Super Bowl championship, things can kind of unravel. I mean, you get assistant coaches get jobs, they move on. This whole staff stayed together. You kept the team together. Now, how are you were able to basically keep all of the key components together? Because it's showing up so far in 2020, particularly in these unique times we're in.
Well, yeah, man. So every season is different and unique. These guys come in during a free agency process or a draft process, or whether they were here the year before, and they quickly blend together, and the different characters and personalities come together, and they start to build that cohesiveness, and they grow as a family differently each year. Certainly after winning a Super Bowl is just a complete unique experience in and of itself, because again, you're going to build those family type ties throughout the course of a season, but when you experience something as special as a Super Bowl, it's a completely different dynamic, and I think we've seen that pay off for us. So I think when you approach an off season, you have that added benefit and advantage of experiencing what we experienced, knowing how special it is. So there's that natural drive and determination for these guys to want to be here. So from that, it's just a matter of us being detailed and disciplined in our plan. And one thing that's a little bit more difficult for me is just being patient and understanding that, especially what we've had to overcome this offseason with the pandemic, but just having a plan and being patient and knowing that all the hard work and all the vision and the planning went into this months ahead of time. And it may take some time, but we know the guys want to be here, and we know we have a good plan, and it's just going to require a little bit of patience and a little bit of, understanding that these things don't happen overnight. And I think we're able to do that. And, a lot of the credit goes to the cap staff I had coming up with different and unique ideas. And that goes back to what I just mentioned earlier about staying aggressive and being on top of things. I don't think a lot of us had heard the term guaranteed mechanisms before this year, but that's just an example of our cap guys following that blueprint of staying aggressive and continuing to come up with ideas. So, again, we had unbelievable, unique experience with the Super Bowl. We were able to carry that momentum in the offseason, and then our guys just had a real detailed and organized plan, and we stuck to it, and the patience paid off.
But you've also been adding to this. I mean, you added by the week. You just added Baker. You added Le'Veon Bell. Two things here, adding depth and why it's important, especially where we're getting tested every day for COVID. All 32 teams are sweating this out almost every day. And then two, this is a couple of years ago, but we stopped on the stairs and talked, and you said cap flexibility is key. Like, you have to have the ability to maneuver, particularly this time of year. I mean, it was about this time of year last year. You added Terrell Suggs and a month before, Stefan Wisniewski. So what about that? And you continue to add and having the flexibility to be able in that position to do so.
Yeah, depth is important every year, and then this year it's even more important because of the pandemic and because of the virus and the testing. We do operate with the mindset that we don't look at a roster and look at the guys we have as a starting unit and just try to patchwork everything else. We say it every year, it really is a battle of attrition. So, when we operate as a personnel staff, when we're putting a roster together, whether a player is the 8th offensive lineman or 6th defensive lineman or 5th corner, we always approach that as if these guys are going to be on the field starting for us or playing significant amount of time for us. So it's not a matter of if, just when. So, our staff never really hits the pause button on the tape, and they continuously have ideas and solutions to problems. And like I said, it's kind of a two-pronged approach too, where we're building depth because we know that at a certain point we're going to have to utilize these players on the field. But also, a lot of this depth is going to be peek into the future. So when we have young guys on our roster, you saw it last year with Fenton, you're seeing it with Allegretti this year. It's getting these guys ready, knowing that if they are called to duty, they'll be able to perform. And then it also gives us a look into the future of what we have down the line. So, it's never more important than this year. And as far as cap flexibility, you're certainly right, Mitch, in the sense that even with a well thought out plan for depth on the back end of your roster and your practice squad, you are going to have some scenarios that pop up that are going to be tough to navigate. So despite the fact that, we had some maneuvering to do and creativity that was needed to get Pat and Kels and Jones in here, we certainly left ourselves some flexibility for unanticipated problems that may occur. And we're in a position to do things toward the end of the season if we need to. It is a little bit of a different time now because once the trade deadline passes, all players go through the waiver wire. And it's also a little bit different and unique because teams are carrying 16 players on their practice squad. So the availability of players is a little bit slim this time of year, especially with 16 players on a practice squad. But from a cap standpoint, we certainly planned for some unanticipated events, and we'd be in position to solidify our roster if we needed to from here throughout the rest of the season.
I want to ask you about trust. It's a big deal. And Coach changed his franchise the first week he was here. But the trust between you and Coach, your staff and Coach's staff. But I want to ask you about the trust then also from the Hunt family to you and Coach. I mean, this contract re-up basically is a great sign of that. But this continued conduit or current of trust that continues to revolve around, how important is that? It's easy to take it for granted now once you've been in it for 8 years, because I see other franchises that seemingly don't have it. And I've been around situations where it's not there. What about that, and how big is that as you move forward?
Well, yeah, it's the foundation for this organization, and it's how we operate. And it allows every person in their department to really be at their best when they know that they've been put in a position to do what they do. And, they're not micromanaged and they're not told what direction to go. They're let me know what you think because, we believe in you. And that's, it's motivating in and of itself, just knowing that you're going to be given a task to do, whether it be from Andy or from Clark. And when you come to them, it's not going to be, well, let me see what else. It's going to be, all right, let's go, because they know that within your staff that again, it's a trickle-down effect. So that trust trickles down with me. So when the guys that I employ, that, those guys I have the utmost trust in, and when we get together, Andy knows that whatever we bring to him, whether it be a trade idea or a draft prospect, it's going to be one that has been vetted from top down, and it's going to be the best solution, and he believes in it, and we believe in it, and it's very efficient, and I think the results speak for itself. But I think it really brings the best out of each individual when you're challenged. And there's no bigger challenge when someone says, I trust you, and just go. I mean, that is certainly motivating for me, and it brings the best out of me, and I think it brings the best out of our entire staff.
Looking ahead, one of the things that's been so impressive about you and Coach is you attack today, but it's never at the forfeiture of tomorrow or the next several years. I mean, you're able to attack today and attack tomorrow and attack long term. But we're also looking at a year next year possibly of cap reduction. I mean, there's some uncertainty here. So how do you keep this going? Google Earth thought here of doing this the next 8 years the way the Chiefs have done it in the 8 years up to this point.
Well, I think it's just staying aggressive and staying fluid, and always looking for ways to make yourself better. The things that we've done this year, you talk about making it through a season, and you talk about having depth on the back end of your roster, and we do that, but we also do that with an eye on the future. So when you see guys getting called up to the active roster, like a Tim Ward or like a Darius Harris, it's because we think that they can help us this year, but we also know that these players are under contract for more years, and there could be guys that end up playing and starting for us. And when you go out there and have a plan for a DeAndre Baker, you bring him in, and you know that he can get up to speed and help us this year, but also what he can be in the future. So it's just really blending, like you said, Mitch, now and then together, and making sure that you have good, solid depth, but also that depth be young and untapped potential that could potentially get some experience this year that will translate and help really fortify this roster in years to come. But aside from that, it's just not being content and not being, happy with what you've done in the past. I mean, we won the Super Bowl this year, and I think our guys, both personnel and coaching staff, we worked even harder this year just because we know how hard it is. And as soon as you think you're good, you're not. So that's kind of the mindset we operate, and we just continue to push the envelope and stay aggressive.
Well, and then you guys find guys like Turk Wharton at Missouri S&T, and I thought Durant did a great job thrown into the fire against Carolina when he had to block that Burns dude on the possession. We took a 26-17 lead. That being said, all of this together, I don't want to embarrass you here. Congratulations on your new contract, but there's some thought you could be NFL Executive of the Year. If the Chiefs Kingdom is voting and we could stuff the ballot box, we would. But when you hear that kind of talk, what's your reaction?
Well, listen, that's certainly it's very flattering, but an NFL Executive of the Year award is really, it should be renamed, Mitch, a Personnel Department of the Year award, and that's how this thing operates here, and I'm certainly blessed and honored to be in this position, but I also know that I'm in this position because of the outstanding people that work with me every day, and whether it be Brant Tillis and Chris Shea coming up with creative ideas on the cap side, or Mike Bergonzi, Ryan Poles, Mike Bradway, Ryan Nutt, the rest of my college staff that just do a tremendous job of flooding me with information and ideas. It really is a group effort here, and like I said, I think that kind of talk is more an indication of how successful our staff has been, and really proud to work here, and really proud to work with the guys I do.
Congratulations once again on many levels for many things. It's awesome to be on this track and to share it with you, and we'll continue to try to run it back.
Mitch, I appreciate your time. I miss you, man, and can't wait to see you back at Arrowhead Stadium.
Yes, sir. Brett Veach, General Manager of the Kansas City Chiefs. So Brett Veach, Chiefs General Manager, again, our Bose 700 headphones, great holiday gift idea for you and your family. Buy one for yourself. But Veach, I think, has made a real pitch here to be general manager or at least executive of the year in the NFL, because people have wow, He's done amazing things, and it's really hard to argue what he's done, especially in the last 18. Well, let's go all the way back to drafting Mahomes. You got to go all the way back to that and realize this dude's on fire.
Yeah, when we talk about how do you create a team, especially in this time and age, right, with COVID, guys are a day's notice. You have to be able to morph your entire starting lineup. Guys, you know what they need? One of the traits we talked about before the season is availability. That means somebody being available to play. But COVID has changed that word. That availability, you almost have to have like a morph ability. You have to be able to be so versatile that you could be a guard on day one, and then by Friday, maybe need to move the tackle. You might be a defensive tackle that needs to play defensive end. Your linebackers have to be able to go down, put their hand in the ground. So much having versatile players and being able for guys to play multiple positions. We talk about multiple fronts, multiple attack schemes as far as offensive defensively, but now players themselves, you have to learn concepts. You have to be able to be so transformational as far as your ability to play and be on the field no matter what the defense and offensive philosophy is, what you were drafted or brought here to do. In a second's notice, because of COVID, you might have to go from a certain position to a totally different one.
Yeah, I think Brett's thought about COVID every day because he just continues to build at certain spots to be ready no matter what. And we said this a couple of weeks ago because that 3-division Defending the Kingdom episode has gotten a lot of looks. And we were closing in on, I think we're over five figures of people have seen that. Like, what's the 3 divisions? And the COVID division, again, here we are, very real this week in the National Football League. It could dictate the Ravens-Steelers game. And while we're talking COVID division, we'll just close this way. Again, we want everybody to be safe this Thanksgiving holiday. We know a lot of you have to be away from loved ones. Hopefully you can connect with them virtually. I know your family and my family is going to do that. We've got extended family that we love. And we just have to, as Coach says, be disciplined and try to be unselfish here as we try to win this COVID battle. But again, just blessings to everyone to have a great Thanksgiving season, although it may not seem like any we've ever had.
Man, we talk about defending the kingdom. We know all the fans here in Kansas City are so thankful, not just for the team, not for having Pat Mahomes and Coach Reed and all the other great players, but thankful that we even had a season. With everything going on, the fact that we were able as an NFL to even put together protocol and operations for some fans to show up and for games to go on, man, we should be so thankful and have an attitude of gratitude. That's the one thing I want to see from the kingdom. Let's continue to have an attitude of gratitude because we're so gracious and so grateful that the NFL was able to put on the game at all. Man, we continue just to be blessed. We want everybody's family and friends just continue to be safe and care about your loved ones, man. I know I appreciate you. I know Mitch appreciates you. In the kingdom, we appreciate you.
I'll close this way. You just triggered a thought because we used to talk about this a lot, but we haven't recently. Do you realize if it would have been 6 weeks earlier, there would have been no Super Bowl 54, no Chiefs championship, and no parade on February the 5th. If we want to be thankful about something in the Chiefs kingdom, hey, be thankful that we were given the gift of being able to win that game and have a parade and celebrate for the first time in 50 years, because it could have been a much different story, Shop. Yes, so sir. Thanks for that. He is Shawn Barber, the Shop, the Spider-Man, the Barber Shop. I'm Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs. Thank you for this Thanksgiving edition, the secret sauce edition of Defending the Kingdom.